Well, welcome to my humble classroom. I never know exactly what Nathan and the crew was going to show up with here, but we had some very interesting discussions, and yeah, we have a meeting here. This turns out to be really easy for me because I don't have to clean up the whole house. I just have to clean up the shop floor. So, I apologize, I didn't do a very good job this time. The mud's kind of sticky. So well, first of all, I'm not a typical professor, so I'm going to sit down and talk to you. And I don't have anything prepared. Never have. So, when we get started, you can just ask questions. And we'll try and talk about the things that you're interested in, not the things that I'm interested in. So that's kind of how we do it. And no question. Don't worry about asking the question that might embarrass me, because if I don't want to answer it, I'll just say I don't want to answer it. So you know where we're at. There's no hidden agendas. A little bit about my history. I was born in this valley. Our family's been in the valley here for about 110 years. My granddad came from Scotland. He was a sheep herder. My granddad on the other side came from Germany, and he was a miner. So the folks got together to dance, the country dance. Here I am. And my wife's folks, they've been in here. They actually homesteaded some land in Tom Minor Basin in their family. So they've been here just about the same length of time. So we've seen a lot of changes. I think I'll talk about that just a little bit later. As a person, I went to school, graduated from high school in Livingston. That was an hour bus ride from home to school, each way. So we played a lot of checkers and a lot of stuff like that in that hour. And then I went on to school at Bozeman College and got a degree in agriculture economics. My dad was ranching, so my brother and I both were in college, and he needed help during the year, especially in the spring of the year. So I didn't go straight to college. I went 2 quarters. It was a quarter system with 2 quarters, and then with 2 quarters, then 3 quarters, and 2 quarters, and 2 quarters. So I ended up getting through college in 11 quarters. Which, when I went and saw my advisor when I was at the end of the first year at the end of the second quarter, said I got to go home and help Dad on the ranch. He said, well, you'll never come back. I said, well, you won't come back. I want a college education. I'll certainly I'll be back. You know, he said, you go home, you'll never come back. I went through that advisor and one more advisor and got my degree. So, anyhow, then of course, at that time we were kind of into the ranching business. My brother and my dad. So it was. And we acquired little pieces of land here and there as we could afford it, or as they came up for sale. And we built our ranches through the 60s and 70s, early 70s. Got to mid-70s and things were going around okay, but we bought a $3 million ranch with some neighbors. Lit that up. And cows were worth, calves were 65 cents a pound. We bought some cows. Now, we did that in March. By September, calves were worth 32 cents. So the cow and calf together wasn't worth what we paid for them. And after a couple of years of that, my brother and I had different philosophies, and he went his way and I went my way. But the banker didn't like how far in debt we were, so we had to sell some land to keep things going. We did that. Kept on going. It hasn't been really easy, not a lot of money in ranching, but it certainly is a way of life. And it's a good way of life. I got on the Conservation District Board. I don't know if you know what those are. Those are mostly county-wide districts that kind of advise and sometimes patrol conservation activities on the private lands within the county, within the district. So we set guidelines for the Soil Conservation Service and the Agricultural Stabilization Board. So we set those policies, help them set their priorities and policies. Then in the early 70s, the state of Montana passed a law that was called the Stream Bank Preservation Act, better known as 310 law. And that required any private landowner who was going to make any change within the high water marks of the stream to get a permit from the Conservation District. And so I was on the board when that was passed in the state legislature. And there was a tremendous amount of opposition to it in the landscape with the ranchers. They didn't want to be governed. It was their land, their water, everything. And so it was an education process for everybody involved. But we moved along and we got that pretty much under control. Our county happened to be one of the leading counties in the number of stream back applications in the state. So we were kept quite busy and we were kind of on the leading edge of things. So it was interesting, and a lot of thought. You get to stop and think of what you're doing, where you're headed with stuff. Then got married and we have 2 kids, a boy and a girl, and they're both still in Montana. One's running a ranch and the other one's a mechanic. We got 5 grandchildren. So, let's see, skip along a little bit.
How many barn cats do you have?
Well, there's 4 here at the moment.
We heard from them, so I thought
Yeah,
it was the right
there's
time
4
to
here at the
introduce them.
moment. And if you want to see a little extra activity, just feed them. Because as soon as you feed them, then there'll be about 8 magpies that fly through the door to the cat food. I was appointed to Governor Roscoe's Wolf Advisory Committee, and that was to help write a state plan for wolves when they're delisted. So it was 13 of us on that. They're pretty heavily involved in writing that plan. And it is recognized as one of the best plans in the nation right now. So I think we did some really good work. That was a really good committee. We came together to write a plan and not fight so much. But that was our objective, right? Plan, and everybody protected their own. You know, if you had a concern, you put that out and we talked about it until we got satisfied. We had such a good relationship amongst everybody on that, even though some of us had exactly opposite views, that sometimes if I missed the rancher's point of view, somebody on the other side would say, Bruce, you missed this point of view over here, we should talk about it, and vice versa. So we watched out for each other's, and it worked out really well.
I was just going to clarify for everyone what the committee was before the delisting of the federal government managed all the wolves. And so there would be a time when wolves would be taken off the endangered species list, at which time any wildlife that comes off the endangered species list is turned over to the state management agency. So the governor appointed a group of 13, did you say, including Bruce, to sit down. And these were stakeholders, and I assume you were sort of represented ranching, agricultural,
Outfitting, I was in
outfitting,
just
just hunting.
outfitting business.
And who else was on the committee? I mean, there's quite a few different interesting people.
There was just some plain ordinary citizens, and there was some doctors and lawyers. Defenders of wildlife had a representative there.
So conservation groups.
Another group, a couple more ranchers.
So stick all those people together in a room and expect to get something done. But they did.
Yeah.
Hammered out a plan.
When we hammered out, it was interesting, we hammered out something, an idea of this is how it's gonna look like, you know. And remember that we spent a whole afternoon doing this one day. We came back the next meeting and said, what we're doing, that's dumb. Took the whole thing out. I thought our secretary was gonna murder us right there.